Hello students. Now in continuation of soil pollution chapter, we will be looking at one more subtopic of it, which is effects of poor solid waste management. So if the management of disposal of waste is not up to the mark, then what are the effects that we are going to face in the near future, or immediately? So it depends upon how well we are managing it. Now if we are not managing it, then we will see what are the effects which are occurring. Okay. Now, due to improper disposal of solid waste, particularly by waste management organizations, the collected waste heaps up and becomes a problem for both environment and also for the public. So if the waste management organizations who are responsible for disposing of this waste, they are not able to do it properly, then what will happen? The environment will face the problem. Okay. Now when the environment is facing problem, automatically the air which is there is also getting contaminated because of that. Okay. So when the air is also getting contaminated, then what is happening over there? It is entering into our respiratory tract, and then we are getting various respiratory ailments and various other diseases. Okay. So that is one thing. Second point here is dumping of huge garbage. Okay, drives biodegradable materials to decay and decompose under abnormal, uncontrolled and unhygienic conditions. Okay. Now, what will happen here? Say for example, if you are traveling somewhere and if you see a garbage bin, okay, you see a garbage bin. So when you see a garbage bin, okay, when you see a garbage bin and when you are passing by it, you will get a lot of smell. Okay, you get a lot of smell when you're passing by. If it is not disposed properly, you will get a lot of smell. Okay, though the dump bins are kept, the dump bins are empty, but the surrounding of the dump bin is completely filled with waste. Okay, so because of that, what is happening? There is abnormal, uncontrolled and unhygienic condition which is getting created. Okay, because these biodegradable wastes, when they decompose, they give out a lot of bad smell. Okay. Now, after a few days of decomposition, it becomes a breeding ground for different types of disease causing insects as well as infectious organisms. Okay, right. So you know that if there is sugar available, fungus will grow immediately on that. Okay, and once it starts decomposing that, it will produce what is called as alcohols. Okay, it will produce some alcohols. They will give out a very foul smell. Okay, right. And it also becomes a breeding ground for many insects. So insects, they carry disease. The organisms, the harmful organisms, they get stuck to their legs. Okay, and when they crawl on us, we get some allergies. Okay, so those are basically infectious insects and microorganisms. Okay, then a foul smell is produced as it spoils the aesthetic value of the area. So you know that I told you just now, if you are passing by a garbage bin, if the waste is not disposed properly, immediately you will get a foul smell because that particular area has lost its aesthetic value. Okay, right. Now moving on. The solid waste collected from different industries include toxic metals, chemicals and other hazardous wastes. Now when these wastes are released into the environment, it can produce biological and physiochemical problems to the environment. Okay. So industries are set up for our use, but they are actually causing a lot of damage to the environment. Okay, right. So when they are not processing the waste properly, okay, when they are not processing the waste properly, what is happening? The environment is the environment and when they are released back into the environment. Okay, so when they are released back into the environment, now they can produce biological and physiochemical problems in the environment. Okay, biological problems means they can create a lot of growth of infectious diseases. Physiological problem means they can cause an increase in the temperature of that particular area. So say for example, you have a power plant in say Ramagundam. Okay, right. So when you have a power plant in Ramagundam, now if you go in summer, the area temperature raises to almost 50 degrees centigrade. Okay. Now, why is that happening? Because the power plant generates a lot of heat. When power is generated, there is a lot of heat generated because it's a thermal power plant. Okay, it runs basically with coal. Okay, so when the coal burns, it gives a lot of heat. Okay, so that's why the area itself is getting completely contaminated, or the aesthetic value of that area has reduced. So that summer, during peak summer, the temperature can go to around 50° centigrade in Ramagundam. Okay, now chemicals may drain into the soil and pollute the groundwater. So this we have been observing again and again. Chemicals can drop onto the soil and they get seeped into the soil, which will decrease the aesthetic value of the soil also, and also alter the productivity of the soils in that particular area. Obviously, when there are chemicals in the ground, the fertility of the soil is reduced. Moving on, in rare cases, hazardous waste may get mixed up with the ordinary garbage and other combustible waste, causing disposal process even harder and risky. Okay, so if there are some hazardous waste which are getting mixed up with the ordinary garbage, which is quite possible in India, but they are controlling it though, but it is quite possible in India. So they can be certain combustible wastes also, and if at all there is a matchstick or something, it is lighted and thrown over there, these combustible wastes automatically they will combust and they cause a lot of health risks, and they even bigger risks to the environment. Okay, and then by burning the paper and other scraps along with hazardous wastes, dioxins and poisonous gases are produced and released into the air, which results in causing various diseases, including chronic disease, skin infections, etc. So if something is happening outside, and these poisonous gases are dioxins are also very, very poisonous in nature. Okay, right? And these hazardous wastes are actually disposed into the environment and they are burnt. Okay, when they are burnt, those fumes come out into the atmosphere, and when you're passing by that, okay, when you're passing by that, and you can see, if you are standing outside, you can see that your skin gets a lot of irritation. You tend to scratch it a lot in that particular area, because you are actually exposed to those particular hazardous dioxins and poisonous gases. Okay, and one more thing here is, you are also inhaling that. Air. So what is happening? You are getting chronic diseases. You will get chronic diseases, and that chronic disease can lead to this, which is cancer. Okay, right? So these are some of the effects of poor solid waste management. So I hope that you have understood this session. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much.